What you're seeing here is a breakdown of the potential launch opportunities for Artemis 2 in early 2026, organized by precise liftoff times, lighting conditions, and the duration of each window. Let's begin with the schedule itself. The first column shows the local time at Kennedy Space Center, using either Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time depending on the month. The next column shows the same moment in Coordinated Universal Time. One thing stands out right away: nearly all of these launches are scheduled at night, and that choice is very intentional. Night launches often offer better thermal conditions and smoother winds at higher altitudes, but the most important reason is safety. If something were to go wrong during ascent and Orion had to perform an abort, the capsule would land in the Atlantic Ocean. NASA wants those potential recovery zones to be in daylight or close to it, so rescue ships and aircraft can quickly spot the capsule and reach the crew. In short, the rocket launches in darkness, but the rescue teams operate in the best possible light. Looking at the calendar, February 2026 includes 5 possible launch windows, falling on February 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th, and 11th, all tightly grouped early in the month. March follows a similar pattern, with 5 windows on March 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 11th. April offers 6 opportunities. 5 occur in early April on the 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, with 1 additional window opening later in the month on April 30th. So the big question becomes whether NASA can realistically hit that earliest February window. The answer depends on several moving parts, including the crew, the Orion spacecraft, and the Space Launch System rocket. Starting with the astronauts, the 4 crew members assigned to fly around the Moon have already entered quarantine. NASA astronauts Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch, along with Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen, are limiting their contact with others to reduce the risk of illness. This phase is known as the Health Stabilization Program and typically begins about 2 weeks before launch. Beginning quarantine now gives NASA flexibility as teams work toward a possible February liftoff. There's still no official launch date because testing on the rocket and spacecraft is ongoing. If needed, the crew can exit quarantine and then re-enter it again once a final launch date is set. For now, the crew remains in Houston. If a February launch stays on track, they will travel to Kennedy Space Center about 6 days before liftoff. There, they'll stay in the astronaut crew quarters inside the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building until launch day. Even while quarantined, the astronauts are not completely isolated. They can communicate with family and coworkers who follow the same safety rules, but they avoid public spaces, wear masks, and maintain distance while completing final training. That includes mission simulations, medical evaluations, and last-minute preparations as NASA approaches a launch decision. On the hardware side, progress continues steadily. After the Artemis II SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft rolled out to the launch pad on January 17, teams immediately began preparing for the wet dress rehearsal, the final full fueling test before launch. Technicians connected purge lines, activated communications with the Launch Control Center, and tested the crew access arm used by astronauts to board Orion. They also prepared and practiced the emergency escape system, including the slide wire baskets designed to quickly evacuate the pad if necessary. Orion and major rocket components, including the core stage, interim cryogenic propulsion stage, and solid rocket boosters, have all been powered on. Teams are currently conducting multi-day communication tests between the vehicle and the eastern range to ensure everything functions as expected. Technicians are also servicing the twin solid rocket boosters and loading final items into Orion, such as crew tablets, medical equipment, and science investigations. The wet dress rehearsal itself will simulate launch day without astronauts on board. Teams will load more than 700,000 gallons of super cold propellant, run the countdown sequence, and then safely drain the fuel. If any issues are discovered, the vehicle can be rolled back to the assembly building for additional work. Although the first launch window opens as early as February 6, NASA will not choose a date until the wet dress rehearsal results are fully reviewed and all systems are deemed ready. Meanwhile, recovery teams are already preparing on the opposite side of the country. NASA and Department of Defense crews are completing final at-sea training to rehearse Orion's recovery after splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. During the rollout on January 17, NASA leadership held a media briefing with the Artemis II crew. When asked about the likelihood of a February launch, NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman emphasized that no launch date would be announced until after the wet dress rehearsal was complete. He noted that the team is prepared and ready to take the earliest opportunity if everything proceeds as planned. The Artemis II mission is expected to last about 10 days and will carry 4 astronauts on a journey around the Moon and back. It will be the first crewed mission of NASA's Artemis program and a major milestone for human exploration beyond low Earth orbit. While Artemis II will not land on the Moon, it serves as a critical test of the systems needed for future missions, including Orion, SLS, ground operations, and mission control. These systems must prove they can safely carry humans deeper into space, paving the way for long-term lunar exploration and eventually missions to Mars. However, the mission has not been without controversy. Some experts have raised concerns about Orion's heat shield, which protects the crew during high-speed re-entry from lunar orbit. After Artemis I returned in 2022, engineers observed unexpected erosion and material loss on the heat shield's surface. Although the damage was not dangerous, it prompted an extensive investigation. Former astronaut Dr. Danny Olivas, who served on an independent review panel, described the heat shield's behavior as deviating from expectations, stating it was not the ideal condition for carrying astronauts. Despite that, years of analysis have helped engineers understand the issue, and NASA leadership believes the risks are known and manageable. Orion's heat shield uses Avcoat, a material with heritage dating back to the Apollo era, originally chosen because of its long flight history. Early test flights used a complex honeycomb design similar to Apollo's, but that approach proved difficult and time-consuming to manufacture, leading NASA to revise its production